Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a highly opinionated, deeply personal, and honestly, incredibly entertaining breakdown of German engineering. We're unpacking a recent automotive analysis by the YouTube channel Torquio, and let me tell you, it completely flips the script on what it means to be a luxury car enthusiast. If you think you know what the ultimate Mercedes-Benz looks like, you're going to want to buckle up because your expectations are about to be wonderfully subverted. Okay, let's dive right into this.
So here's the central question driving this whole explainer. What makes a Mercedes a true connoisseur car? It's a pretty fascinating premise, right? Because when most of us hear that brand name, we immediately picture, pristine sedans pulling up to red carpets, or maybe ultra-expensive hypercars. But our source material today makes a really compelling argument that the actual connoisseur choices are hiding in plain sight, and in some cases, they literally look like family haulers. To really grasp this perspective, we first got to look at the creator's background. From a super young age, they were basically swimming in standard luxury Mercedes models. We're talking about a silver W210 E-Class at age 4, a massive V12 SL at age 5, a CLS 350 at 9, and later on, a W22 S-Class. I mean, that is a serious pedigree of luxury. But here's the kicker. Despite growing up in the back seats of these incredible machines, the creator explicitly states they wouldn't consider a single one of them to be a true connoisseur's car. They're great, sure, but they just aren't the ultimate expression of automotive taste.
So what's the standard we're actually judging by here? Well, a connoisseur is essentially an expert judge or a highly knowledgeable person in matters of taste, art, or refined appreciation. In the car world, this means you have to look way past the obvious status symbols. It's about appreciating the raw engineering, the rarity, the history, and sometimes just the sheer, unadulterated absurdity of a vehicle.
There's a very clear line drawn in the sand here. On one side, we have what our source calls the mainstream. These are cars like the CLK GTR, the iconic 300 SL, the SLR McLaren, the legendary AMG Hammer. And look, most enthusiasts would literally kill for these. But our source argues that these are just too obvious. They're the easy answers. You can't immediately judge someone's refined taste if they just pick the most famous supercars in existence. Instead, we have the true connoisseur's picks that we'll be exploring today. Get this, a minivan, a terrifying station wagon, a quote-unquote mid-roadster, and a heavy tank. Let's see how this all comes together.
Section 1. The R63 AMG. A literal minivan masterpiece.
That brings us to our first, totally unexpected pick. Yes, you heard me right, a minivan. Or, well, an MPV, a multi-purpose vehicle. Our source admits they initially thought it was just a strange wagon, but the community was quick to correct them. It is a van. But it is not just any van. The reason this unassuming family hauler is an absolute masterpiece of German madness comes down to one number, 500. Lurking underneath the hood is a massive 6.2-liter naturally aspirated M156 V8 engine that pushes out well over 500 horsepower. Just let that sink in for a second. A naturally aspirated V8 in a vehicle designed for soccer practice? Our source describes this engine as a delicious, delectable delight. And honestly, they're absolutely spot on.
And this naturally leads us to our next crucial number, 200. Or actually, scratch that, less than 200. That's the estimated total global production of the R63 AMG. Our source points out that some estimates say 103, others say 113, but it is definitively under 200 units ever made. This is exactly what makes it a true connoisseur's car. When they do pop up for sale, they are immediately gobbled up by those in the know. You literally can't just walk into a dealership and buy one.
So the big question is, what happens when you combine that 500 horsepower with Mercedes' 4MATIC all-wheel drive system in a super rare minivan body? You get this number, 4.6. That's 4.6 seconds to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in a vehicle that looks like it belongs in a grocery store parking lot. It's the ultimate sleeper car, and it completely 100% justifies its place at the top of this connoisseur's list.
Section 2. The W211 E55 AMG wagon. Reliable and terrifying.
Now, automotive experts like Doug DeMoro have already called this silver station wagon a future classic, and our source wholeheartedly agrees, calling it just perfect. But their appreciation comes with a highly personal, slightly terrifying twist. The creator tells this hilarious story of looking out the window, just pondering their existence, when suddenly a silver E55 wagon drives past. They reacted so viscerally to seeing it that they accidentally jump-scared their own mother, earning a swift kick in return. As they brilliantly put it, she doesn't understand what a W211 E55 AMG wagon does to a man, and she never will. It's exactly this kind of raw, unexplainable passion that defines a true automotive enthusiast.
But why on earth does this specific wagon cause such a crazy reaction? Well, it all comes down to the legendary M113 V8 engine. It features a single overhead cam and, crucially, it lacks variable valve timing. Its highly simplified design was built for absolute bulletproof reliability. It is just a massive powerhouse that isn't going to randomly break down on you.
Okay, quick detour here because I think this brilliantly illustrates the charm of our source material. While passionately discussing the sheer perfection of this exact wagon during their recording, the creator literally misjudges their drink and spills it everywhere. And they left the panicked, apologetic quote in the final cut. It's chaotic, it's totally internet native, and it just perfectly encapsulates the unpolished, genuine enthusiasm of someone deeply obsessed with their niche.
Section 3. The R231SL. A necessary mistake.
Let's move on to the third, and easily the most controversial pick on this list. Now, the SL nameplate is legendary for sure, but this specific generation holds a very unique, kind of unflattering place in history. Our source doesn't mince words here at all. They describe the grand reveal of this car as neither pretty nor exciting. Their exact phrasing, it was a mid-failure, just completely mediocre. So you might be wondering, why on earth is a car considered a mid-failure included on a list meant for expert automotive connoisseurs?
It's because it was a necessary catalyst. You see, the connoisseur appreciates the R231 SL not for what it is, but for what it caused. First, the SL completely fails to impress the market and enthusiasts alike. Second, Mercedes-Benz takes this failure to heart and completely reevaluates their entire design language. And third, this hard lesson directly leads to the birth of a generation of absolutely stunning coupes. We're talking the AMG GT, the C-Class coupe, the E-Class coupe, and the magnificent S-Class coupe. Our source calls the S-Coupe a straight Continental GT competitor and one of the most underrated used cars on the market today. Without the failure of that SL, those modern masterpieces might literally never have existed.
Section 4. The CL63. The ahead-of-its-time tank.
Skipping right over those performative, normie connoisseur cars like the AMG Hammer, our source lands on a true heavyweight. Let's break down the blueprint of this absolute beast. The CL63 was essentially the S63 coupe long before the S63 coupe officially existed. It was this massive, ultra-luxurious grand tour. But when it came to rivals, our source notes that it completely smoked the BMW M5 of its era. And the power? It featured that same legendary 6.2-liter M156 V8 pushing over 500 horsepower. The absolutely crucial point here is the year, 2007. Having a grand tour with this specific flavor of raw AMG power and advanced tech was something you'd expect in the 2010s or 2020s. Back in 2007, it was a literal tank that was light years ahead of its time.
I also have to highlight this incredibly funny disclaimer from our source. The creator's immense respect for the CL63's tank-like status comes partly from their childhood, where they had a massive die-cast model of it that they used to physically ram into other toy cars. They jokingly add that they are not responsible for any financial ruin you might face if you go buy a real CL63 based solely on their die-cast crash test data. It's just a great reminder that our love for cars often starts right there on the living room floor.
Section 5. The Grand Epiphany.
So, after analyzing this wildly eclectic mix of minivans, unbreakable wagons, and heavy-duty grand tours, the creator arrives at a profound self-reflection. For years, they thought they just liked traditional luxury Mercedes, or maybe Italian supercars like the F40, or Japanese tuner cars. But looking at this specific list, the unifying thread is suddenly crystal clear. I am a German muscle car enthusiast. That's the secret right there. It's not about delicate handling or pristine leather. It's about stuffing the most massive, powerful, naturally aspirated V8 engines into the most unassuming, heavy, blocky cars possible. It is muscle car philosophy, just executed with German engineering.
Of course, being a German muscle car enthusiast comes with a pretty harsh reality check in today's world, perfectly represented by this number, $3.70. That was the price per gallon of gas the creator lamented during their recording. Feeding these massive 6.2-liter and 5.5-liter V8 engines is a seriously painful experience at the pump, especially for a creator just trying to fund their passion.
And speaking of funding that passion, the source material ends on a highly relatable, distinctly modern note. The creator is currently locked in this bizarre battle with a YouTube AI bot that has actually demonetized their videos, falsely claiming they aren't using their real natural voice.
I mean, it's such a frustrating hurdle for independent creators. To combat this, they've launched a Discord community to gather their true fans together, a place where real human connection trumps flawed AI moderation.
And that brings us to the end of our dive into this totally unique automotive philosophy. We've looked at 500 horsepower minivans, unbreakable wagons, and ahead of their time Grand Tours. So I leave you with this question based on everything we just covered today. When it comes to your own automotive tastes, are you just a mainstream fan chasing the obvious supercars, or are you a true German muscle connoisseur? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explanator, and keep learning.